Oh, okay. So, according to the mobile phone on live, we shall see. Let's see if I have audio and video. Waiting. And yes, there's audio, there's video. It's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. I may need to speak a bit more softly this morning. Hey, Real Jack, how you doing? It's good to see you, man. Good to see you. Hey, Zohara, I saw you commented earlier on something just like an hour ago. Hey, Zohara, how you doing? So yeah, I may need to cut this short if the baby wakes up. I wasn't sure if to go live, to not go live, but I mean, I figured I should because he's asleep, so we'll see. Okay, let's dive right in. Real Jack, I know that you had a lot of questions earlier in the previous live stream, so if you have anything right now before I get into previous questions, feel free to shoot, and we'll see. I hope y'all are doing well. Okay, so let's go with a question. Eliyahu Pedahil said, "Your hair has wickedness that needs to be combed out." Well, to which I say once again, sorry, I don't use a comb, I don't use a brush. It's simply not the way. You can manipulate the hair with your fingers, perhaps, but not with tools that might rip it out. And you should take care not to rip out hairs with your fingers either, but it's permissible to separate and to make it not lock up or mat up. But I decided to do it, just let it grow naturally. No, I'm learning from you. Hey, and I'm learning from you. See, we have that in common. Bloodvian87 asked, "Who are the 12 tribes today? Where are they? And where is their temple and sacrifices?" So traditionally, according to Midrash, the 10 tribes that were exiled by the kingdom of Assyria, right? Shalmaneser II, if I'm not mistaken, showed up. Some say it was Sancheriv, but Shalmaneser II, if I'm not mistaken, is the one who exiled the 10 lost tribes, the kingdom of Israel. He showed up at the gates of the kingdom of Judah, but he could not take them over. It was only later that Babylon exiled the kingdom of Judah. So we know that there's Yehuda and Binyamin, Judah and Benjamin, right, and parts of Levi, parts of the tribe of Levi that make up the kingdom of Judah, and we are the remnants of the kingdom of Judah. As for the 10 lost tribes, where are they? This is a great dispute, a debate, a disagreement. Some say that Dan and Menashe and Reuven, if I'm not mistaken, have been found, and they are in India, Ethiopia, and where was it? Somewhere else, perhaps in Asia, respectively. But it's not truly known where the 10 lost tribes are and who exactly they are. Now, some people may say it's not even true that the Jews these days, who call themselves the remnants of the kingdom of Judah, are in fact Jews from the ancient kingdom of Judah. So it's all in dispute, right? Our sages said in the Talmud, Sancheriv, king of Assyria, showed up and mixed up all of the nations, and now you don't know who's who and what's what. We have our traditions, we have our, let's say, heritage, but we don't precisely know who is from which tribe. Now, I, for instance, have a tradition in my family, us, of being Levites, and there are priestly families who've kept the tradition going over the years, right, throughout the years. A convert can't be a Levite or a priest. A convert immediately joins the tribe of Judah by default. You need to be born into the tribe in order to be a priest or a Levite. So, for instance, we've kept this. I mean, I don't have the family tree going back to antiquity, but there is a tradition going back to antiquity of, for instance, my specific family being a specific Levitical family. But that's just one example, and I don't even know. I can't say that that's 100% for sure. So as for where they are, we're not sure. There are historians, academics, scholars who have gone into this, who are looking. It's difficult to tell after so long, you know? Now, as for where is their temple, as far as I know, there is no temple for the 10 lost tribes, and sacrifices, well, the sacrificial element is in everyday life. Ever since the temple was destroyed, right, it is our prayers, it is our good deeds, and so on, that make up the sacrifice. And some people say that it's a good thing that animal sacrifices were taken out of the equation because that sort of forced us, right, to step up and replace it. Now, I've mentioned how with the fall of the temple, right, it was replaced by the shul. With the fall of the priesthood, it was replaced by the rabbinate. And with the fall of the sacrifices, it was replaced more often than not by prayers. This is not to say that prayers didn't exist before, of course, but they really, really took their place. And you could argue if it was a good thing, it was a bad thing, but that's simply the case. So we don't precisely know, not religious people, nor historians, nor academics, scholars, and people who will do the research. They don't know for sure where the 12 tribes are, right? And who is whom. There are different traditions, and there are different family trees, and rumors and such, but nobody knows precisely where. And it is said that Elijah the prophet, who never died, right? He received a different sort of task, an angelic task. He is the messenger of the covenant. He is supposed to show up at some point and reveal himself in a, like, not to individuals, but more broadly, because he regularly reveals himself to individuals in angelic form or whatnot, or human form as an angel or a messenger, however you want to call it, traditionally. But he will be revealed more broadly, and he will tell people what tribe they belong to, what nation they belong to, what is their root. Okay, so that was that. Okay, let's see. Jew, says Fluffy Buns. I love a good fluffy bun. Fluffy buns. Now, do you mean ass or do you mean like hamburger bun? Because there's a big difference. I mean, some people like them fluffy either way, but you know, no judgment here. Dirty Israeli. Zayas, says Junaid. Yes, I am. I am a dirty Jew. I am a dirty Zionist. I am a dirty, dirty boy. The Talmud says sexually assaulting a girl under 13 is okay. WTF. No, it does not. But for the sake, see, this comes up each and every time, so I'll make it really, really brief. The Talmud is a series of debates. Sometimes in debates, you bring an extreme argument in order to bookend your case, right, with this or that, and then you can reach a consensus in the middle. This idea of somebody sexually assaulting a 3-year-old is something that was back then brought in as a matter of debate in order to illustrate a point. And as far as I know, halacha does not, right, rabbinic law does not permit you to sexually assault a 3-year-old, as far as I know. And at the time, in that particular debate, it was brought in order to reach the extremes of a debate, and then you could reach the middle. The Talmud, as I've mentioned yesterday and many times before, is the oral traditions that were never meant to be written down from the beginning, right, from the get-go, and so they were supposed to remain oral. The fact that they were written down was a great tragedy. It had to be done, but then we went into survival mode, so to speak, and it was just, in order to keep the remnants of the oral Torah alive, they decided to write it down. But the Torah, the oral Torah, right, the Talmud, the Mishnah, are basically debates. It's a series of debates spanning hundreds of years, very nuanced. And just like in a debate, sometimes you bring a fringe case, right, in order to say something about the general idea of something. And that's, in that context, if I'm not mistaken, that's where it was brought up. And even if we grant that and say that 2,000 years ago or so, at the time of the Talmud, which was sealed and canonized in the 4th century of the Common Era, I believe, even if we do say that 1,600, 1,700 years ago, the Talmud said it was permissible to sleep with a 3-year-old girl, or boy for that matter, I suppose. Nowadays, with the evolution and the progress of humankind and the Hebrews alike, it would not be rabbinic law that you're allowed to assault sexually a child who cannot consent. Furthermore, well, no, that's not fair. Let's leave it at that. Because, you know, because this question comes up so much, so I gave you the bottom line here. Do you think the Erev Rav still exists? The Erev Rav still exists in the sense of that, right, the mixed multitude that left Egypt with the Israelites according to the book of Exodus. And now look, some people say that the Exodus from Egypt never happened and that the origin of the Hebrew people is around here and not Egypt. But if we're going just with the classic traditional story in Exodus, it means that there were people who were set free, and there were many people who joined them, seeing that the Egyptians had taken a tumble and that they were no longer in control. They decided, oh, let's get the hell out of here, and they followed the people who were being freed. So Moses and the Israelites left, and the mixed multitude left with them. Some of them did indeed convert. Some of them did not, and they were a thorn in the sides of the Israelites throughout the wandering in the desert. Some say, depending on the commentary, some say they were killed along the way. Some say that they converted or partially converted, and some say that they sort of died off or rather that they didn't die off. The ones who did not die off entered, if I'm not mistaken, some of them at least say that they entered the land of Israel, but then became righteous residents, right? The righteous Gentiles. New here, do you like Benji Netanyahu? No, I do not like him. I don't like politicians at all, and I have not voted for him. So, yeah, if I did vote for him, I think maybe it was once over 20 years ago, and I haven't voted since. So there. Rev Donk Bonkers says, "Oh, Wizard of Dreads, should I go balls deep or leave it lay?" Oh, balls deep for sure. But if you're too big and you don't want to hurt your woman, so or your man, whoever you're sleeping with. Now, if you're talking about, let's say, billiards or pool, definitely go balls deep. If you're talking about tripping balls, then that's, set and setting, and you got to do things right. So I would say leave it lay until you have an answer, because I can't give you the answer to that. Ah, exactly. See? He's saying it right now in the chat, that it was a founding myth. That's right. Thoughts on Metzitza Bapeh, Fluffy Deuce? I already, yesterday it came up and I already went over it. I'm not going to do it right now. It says a man can marry his niece. A man can marry his niece. I don't recall. Also, listen, about the Talmud, and I mentioned this before, you need to understand that the Talmud is also many debates that have nothing to do with rabbinic law. And one might ask, if these are the oral traditions and the oral Torah, why does it not simply deal with rabbinic law? Well, first of all, it's a lot of things outside of the practical, dry rabbinic law. It's different myths, it's different legends, it's different things that by the time they reach their from the spiritual place, by the time they reach their physical manifestation here in a book or orally, to write it down then, it sort of makes it written in stone, so to speak, and it's not right for the Mishnah or the Talmud to be written down, and this was a result of destruction and exile. So many times these things were brought here in order to, again, illustrate a case, or as something that says something about the relationship between the divine revelation. Since we know in the divine revelation we have mother, we have father, we have the bride, we have the groom, we have the daughter-in-law, we have the son-in-law, we have the mother-in-law, we have the father-in-law. We have all of these different things, right, in family, like an internal family system of the divine revelation. So when it says that a man can marry his niece, it could be, right, that it's actually, yes, a man can marry his niece, right, in reality, or it could mean that a man can marry his niece in the sense of you need to look deeper and see what is it saying about the divine revelation and the way that it's manifested through me, because we are made in the image of God and we are a revelation of God, right? People, human beings, made in the image of God. And it's supposed to also teach you something about the nature of your own being and how it is that you should approach the relationship between you and God. So when it says a man can marry his niece, form a relationship of some kind, you can look at it physically and say it's disgusting, sure. Or you can look at it as a thing that, no, it's part of a debate, and it was they needed to reach a consensus on something that the people could follow as a mainstream rabbinic law, so they brought the different extremes in order to reach a middle ground, right? To see what the different traditions are, and then from there halakha was derived. Or you can say, no, it has something to do spiritually, and this is just written down physically as a kind of shell, right? It's a husk. It's something that is on the outside, and you need to peel it off and eat the juicy innards. So yeah, so Concord said Exodus is a founding myth, not facts. I agree, it is not fact. Now, there are different archaeological evidence here and there, and I don't know what. It hasn't been yet proven 100%. To me, it doesn't matter if it's been proven or not, right? To me, it doesn't matter if it's reality or if it was myth. I have this book here now. I have the Torah scroll. The question is, now what? These are stories that have been handed down for thousands and thousands of years. This does not necessarily make them truth, absolute truth, but it does make them worthy of inspection. As far as I'm concerned, highly worthy of inspection. And the more that I delve into them, the more I see, yes, you could argue over the validity of it in reality. But what you can't argue, for me, on a personal level, is that I can learn from these stories. There's wisdom in these stories. These are archetypal stories, and they can do a lot for me in the way that I approach life. What does it mean to be enslaved? What does it mean to be free? What does it mean to be a messenger? What does it mean to be in charge? What does it mean to go and fight tyranny? What does it mean to stand in front of a king? Do you see what I'm saying? So even if you say, no, no, it never happened, it's a founding myth, I'll say, okay, I read the book, The Origin of the Hebrew People. We're over there as well. He brings a few different examples of how it's a founding myth and that the people of Israel were local tribes here in Canaan and no exodus from Egypt ever happened. It was just a way to sort of rally the tribes together under their banner, right, under the single banner of Yod He Vav He, right, of Adonai. And I go with that. I say, okay, either story works for me. Either one. There's wisdom in either one of those stories. You see what I'm saying? Okay, let's continue. Can you respond to your chat, says Mail Kasle. Yeah, but see, the chat is going really, really quickly, and I'm answering different things as they're coming in, so my apologies. You sometimes will have to, a few times, write things a few times, or copy-paste, or whatnot. Enough yapping, he says. Well, all right, I'll just be silent then. No, I think I'll continue talking. Sorry, man. Sorry. You're Matisyahu, right? Says Soggy Mob Flip. No, I'm not. And he's not me, and I'm not him. Someone called me a fake Matisyahu yesterday, actually, and I proved quite clearly that I am not the likeness of him, nor am I him. Go back to Austria, go back to Poland, go back to Germany. All right. Are you paying for my ticket? Is it a vacation? Do I take the kids? Am I running away from my wife? Do I give her do I need to divorce her? You want me to marry you? Malek, are you proposing marriage right now to me? Honeymoon? Austria? I don't know what to do. This is also sudden. Okay. Stop stealing land and go take a shower. Okay. I did shower recently. Plus, it's raining outside. I could take my clothes off and run in the rain. And you can't steal land that is your own ancestral land. Now, the only thing that I will grant is a kind of theft, or not, it's not even theft, but it is problematic, and I'll grant you that, are the fringe settlements that are problematic. That is debatable. That is debatable. What is not debatable is that there's a people here called Jews, or the people of the remnants of Judah, that's us, who were here, who had a presence here throughout the entire time in exile, and who decided to come back. So there's no stealing. You can't steal your own land, right? The land that was yours. You can't steal it. You can re-inhabit it. You can reconquer it. You can resettle it. You can re-sit in it. But that's not stealing. And every single piece of land before 1948 and after 1948, it was won by war, which we didn't start. Before 1948, there is documented evidence, legal, right, evidence of buying and selling. Jews were buying up a lot of property here, and only after the Arabs, the Muslims in the area lost the war that they began, only then did they cry, oh no, it was ours, they took it, oh Lord. And furthermore, like I said, at any given moment between 1948 and 1967, Jordan could have established a Palestinian state. They didn't. They annexed the East Jerusalem. Gaza and Egypt, same deal. For 20 years almost, it was under Egyptian rule. Why didn't they establish a Palestinian state? Maybe it's because, A, there's no such state, B, there's no such people. However, there are people here, and we need to make peace with them no matter what label you put on them. They are human beings. We need to make peace. We need to end the war. We need to end the bloodshed. On that, I hope we can agree. So, yeah. I heard a shekel dropped, says Kingsman. Where? Gimme. Oh, you know what? I have my coffee. I forgot. So, I have a nice cup of coffee here. It's so lovely. It's so nice to be with you on this lovely, rainy Jerusalem Monday morning. All right, I'll look for that shekel later, but thanks for the tip. Tell them about Sanhedrin 59a. You know what? I don't remember Sanhedrin 59a offhand. You'll have to refresh my memory. It's been a while since I studied Masechet Sanhedrin. So please, Space Cadet Cam, please tell me about Sanhedrin 59a, and I'll be able to address it. So you tell me about it, and I will tell them about it, or you tell them about it and cut out the middleman, since I guess you know what you're talking about. You're not the real Jews, says Hello World. Okay, fair enough. Let's say we're not the real Jews. What is a real Jew? Okay? Let's say that, as many people like to say, that I'm an Eastern European, Ashkenazi, Khazari, imposter, faker, right? All of those things. I have taken on the yoke of Torah and commandments. I am circumcised. I keep the Sabbath. I believe in one God. I live in Israel, which makes me de facto a Jew, whether you like it or not. But only people who are truly, truly asinine in their approach to this topic would say that there are real Jews and fake Jews, because there's no such thing, right? You can convert through certain channels. Nobody's taken that away from you. But if you want to be a Jew, as in part of the kingdom of Judah, part of the Hebrew tribes, the tribes of Israel, it's very, very simple, right? You leave your paganism behind, you take on the monotheistic worshiping of the Hebrew God, and you're a Jew. That's all it takes, really. Taking on the yoke of Torah and commandments, taking on the burden of being part of these tribes. Now, I was born Jewish to a very ancient Jewish family, but okay, Internet rando, you know better than me. Original Jews were black, he says. Yes, I've heard that too. It doesn't really make a difference what skin color you are. You can be yellow, you can be red, you can be black, you can be blue, you can be purple, you can be as white as snow. You can still be a Jew. So many of these people have this misguided notion that your skin color says something about who you are as a person. People have this such folly, right? This stupid and ignorant idea about real Jews and fake Jews, and they're not Jews themselves, mind you. Anybody who has ever called me a fake Jew has never ever been an actual Jew. So, I take it with a grain of hummus. You can't become a Jew, Mr. Manga 911 says. That's where you are wrong. You can convert. You can convert. It doesn't have to be an Orthodox conversion. Of course, the Orthodox people would likely say, yes, it ought to be. But yes, you can be a Karaite, and you can be a conservative, and you can be a Reform or Reconstructionist, or I don't know what. Maybe people would consider them non-Jews. But as long as you take on the yoke of Torah and commandments, right, and you worship the one Hebrew God, that makes you a Jew. That's what makes you a Jew. And if you're a male and you haven't been circumcised, you probably ought to be circumcised. And then you immerse yourself in a ritual pool, right, a mikveh, you rise, you are a Jew. And if you're a woman, please don't circumcise yourself, or please don't be circumcised. And then you take on the same deal. And you immerse yourself in a mikveh, and you're a Jew. And many, many people who would like to think that they know better, and I'm not saying I do know better, I'm saying I know my history and my people and the Torah. So, to the degree that I do, I wouldn't presume to know everything. There's more than what I don't know than what I do know. But what I do know is that, yes, you can become a Jew. It's relatively easy to become a Jew, unless you go with the rabbinic Orthodox conversion. That takes years. I've heard it's very expensive. So, yes. Why don't Jews get circumcised at birth? Because at birth it would be a lot more dangerous. But when you reach the 8th day, there's a spike in vitamin K, if I'm not mistaken. Something along those lines. There's a spike in a certain vitamin that helps the body heal a lot quicker. And it's at that point that it's optimal to be circumcised. Also, it's not at birth, because you need to have at least one Shabbos that would pass. Which means, if you were born on Shabbos, the 8th day would be the next Shabbos, right? 1, and then 1 through 7, that's 8. So you need to have at least one Shabbos, a full Shabbos. So if you're born on Shabbat, you need to have a proper Shabbat, right? And then you're circumcised. You need to have that covenant of Shabbos in you, and then you can be circumcised. If there are if there's some sort of a medical issue, then you can do it before. I know you can do it later. I was circumcised later. I'm a premature baby. Or I'm still a premature baby, but I was born premature. And also, the number 8 represents the higher, right, the spiritual. The number 7 represents nature. The number 8 represents that which is above nature. It's also on its side infinity, right, the number 8. Okay. Forgotten Primarch says the Talmud is explicit on who and who is not Jewish. You Ashkenazi are a bunch of Khazar Russians playing pretend. Okay, give me the tractate, give me the Masechet, give me the Daf, give me the Amud, and we can have the debate. Because I know for a fact that the Talmud is not where Halakha is derived, right? You've got the Mishnah, that's the commentary on the oral Torah, that was written down. Then you have the Talmud, that is a commentary on the Mishnah, and not the Talmud nor the Mishnah actually state the halacha. It is only the later commentaries, right, the Geonim, the Savoraim, the Rishonim, the Achronim, who derived halacha from the Mishnah and the Talmud. So already you are, unfortunately for you, displaying your ignorance in Talmud. And it's not that I'm such a maven. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a pupil, of Talmud. I've studied it, but not very, very deeply. I'm not a rabbi. I'm none of those things. But I know enough Talmud to know that you derive halacha from the Talmud. Halacha is not written in the Talmud. In other words, you are 100% wrong when you say that the Talmud says who is Jewish explicitly and who is not. You are very much mistaken. Also, if you knew Talmud, you would know, or Mishnah for that matter, and maybe you do, that when the convert, the person who wanted to convert, came before Hillel at the time of the Second Temple, Hillel told him that the entire Torah, if he wants to convert, he can tell it to him while he stands on one foot, right? What is it that you hate? Do not do unto your fellow. That is the entire Torah. The rest is its commentary. Go and study it. And he became a Jew based on that. That's the entire Torah, right? You take on the Hebrew God, you're good towards your people and humanity at large, but first and foremost, the people around you. And the rest is commentary on the Torah. The important thing is love your neighbor, love your God. That is the basis of the Torah. That is the basis of Hebrew life here in this world. So I'm sorry, you're mistaken. And if your contention is that you're not mistaken, please do give me, or leave it in the comments if I miss it in the chat. Give me the tractate, give me the page, right? Give me everything, and we can have the debate, and I'll address it next time. But the Talmud is not explicit on that, so no. All right, let's speak about the Sfirot, says user TK. Okay, what about them? I am not a Kabbalist, but I am a student of the Tree of Life. So if you want to, I am confused about halacha, said, if you're confused about halacha, you could have a look at the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, precisely. Now, I don't know if you're referring to me. When you say that, fraud with, I'm not confused about halacha. I've got the Shulchan Aruch right here, and the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch for that matter. So, by the way, hang on a second. May I send you a comb, says Orb Jack. No, sorry, Nazarites can't use a comb. They can use their fingers. I chose not to do that either. But no, Nazarites cannot use a comb. Nazarites cannot use a brush. Nazarites can only use their fingers or their fingertips in order to separate and keep it clean. Not keep it clean, keep it neat. I keep it clean with shampoo. I do wash my hair. To all of you lovely souls out there who are wondering if I bathe, if I shower, if I keep it clean, yes, I try to keep it as clean as I can. I do shower pretty regularly. So, you could still say that I don't if it makes you happy, if it makes you feel good about yourself. So yes, I do bathe and I do shower. I do wash my hair. I wash it with shampoo, right? Water, shampoo. I condition it only once every 6 to 8 weeks or so. Every month or two I'll condition it, but I do shampoo fairly regularly because you want to keep it clean, right? And I do want to keep it clean. Let's continue. Why aren't brushes or combs used? The Nazarite does not use a comb or a brush because it's a tool that is actually going to rip out hairs as you're using it. That's part of what it's there for. And you're not supposed to rip out hairs intentionally. What you're allowed to do is take your fingers and go through it and, separate, if you want, with your fingers lightly, gently, but you're not supposed to rip out hairs from the root or cut the hairs intentionally. That is against the laws of the Nazariteship. So that's why brushes and combs are not used. The hair is supposed to grow wild. Can I be a Nazarite, asks Beetlejuice. If you are a man or woman of the Hebrew tribes, yes, you can. Otherwise, because many Christians, followers of Yeshua, other people from the nations have told me that they are Nazarites. They're not Jewish, but they are Nazarites. And I tell them, okay, cool, you took a vow before God based on the Hebrew Nazariteship. Just know, I tell them, please know that the laws of the Nazariteship do not apply to you, because you can take a vow as a human being standing before God, right? Just like me, anybody else. A human being before their creator. That's all well and good. You make a vow, it's binding as far as you're concerned, go for it. However, the laws of the Nazariteship as far as rabbinic halacha is concerned do not apply because it's said in the book of Numbers chapter 6 when the Nazariteship is discussed. It said speak to the children of Israel. If a man or a woman wishes to take the vow, right? So it's speak to the children of Israel. A Rambam in the laws of the Nazariteship said that the nations do not have the Nazariteship. It's not part of their thing. It was given to the Hebrews. But since I've met so many people online who have taken a Nazarite vow of this type or another who are not Jews, I say, okay, so it's just like any other vow that they would take, meaning that they have their own definition of what is binding and what is not. But the laws of halacha pertaining to a vow do not bind them. The laws of the Hebrew Nazarite do not pertain to them and do not bind them. That's what I tell them. But definitely, if somebody stands before God and wholeheartedly, honestly takes a vow and wants to take on the laws of the Nazariteship as they are laid out in the Hebrew Bible, or the Samson Nazariteship as I am, that's doable as far as they are concerned, but they're not part of the Hebrew people, so they're not Hebrew Nazarites, and the laws do not apply to them. They don't need to end it in the same way with a sacrificial offering, cutting of the hair, putting it in the fire. It's so yes, if you want to call yourself a Nazarite, by all means, I'm not gatekeeping. Rambam did, but I'm not. I'll just say that you're not a Hebrew Nazarite and you're not a Mosaic Nazarite. But if you want to take a vow before God to grow your hair, abstain from wine, abstain from grapes, abstain from raisins, abstain from balsamic and red and white vinegar, and try to abstain from defilement of death and all of that, if you want to take that on as a simple vow, a commitment, a covenant between you and your Creator, far be it from me to judge. The real Jewish people are from Ethiopia. Yes, there are real Jewish people from Ethiopia. And they say either they are from the tribe of Judah or the tribe of Dan. It's disputed. But the real Jewish people were all over. There was exile after the first temple, and there was exile after the second temple. Most of the Jews who were exiled did not come back, not the first time or the second time. And so what we are left now here in Israel, right, the Jewry of the world that is known as Jewish, is the remnants of the old kingdoms, which means that there are real Jews in all kinds of places. Once again, people, read history, do your research, because you're revealing a little bit of ignorance here when you say that the real Jews. No, there's no the real Jews. There are simply Jews, people who take on the burden of the Torah and its commandments, who worship the one Hebrew God. They are Jews. Orthodox people might say, no, they must go through an Orthodox rabbinic conversion. Fair enough, they can say that. The Orthodox path is one that I have great affinity with, and I grew up Orthodox here in Jerusalem. But to be a Jew, according to the Torah, not according necessarily to Orthodox rabbinic law, but according to the Torah, just like Abraham, right? Avram, then Abraham, he believed in God, he went with God's commandments, and he was a Jew, so to speak. He wasn't. He was a Hebrew, right? There was no Judah. There were no Jews. Can blacks be Jews? Yes, they can. I've met several people with black skin, with brown skin, with mocha skin, with white skin, who are Jewish. What was up with the tunneling Jews, says Richard Groiper. I think those were Chabad people, and I don't recall what was up with that, actually. If somebody can remind me, I'll be able to comment on it a little bit. What time are we in? In the time of God? There's always a time of God. Have you got the time? Why, yes, it's the time of God. No, I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. And the divine revelation is something that is prevalent, and it has different facets, because it's all about the eye of the beholder, so to speak, or the mind or the heart of the beholder. So if you create a vessel, if you make room in your life for the divine revelation, it will be revealed to you. It's all a question of the work that you put in, right? Because it needs to be a commitment. It needs to be a covenant. And this is part of what Torah and commandments are all about. It's about, okay, you're born into this. And if you're a male, there's a covenant put in your flesh before you can consent, before you can judge, before you can speak. It's already in your flesh. This is your life. This is our path. This is the way, right? Like in The Mandalorian. So then why do you have to appear homeless? Asked Jonathan Rich. Well, first of all, I am of the opinion, maybe misguided and mistaken, that a lot of humanity of old, in ancient, I dare say prehistoric times, looked like this, with long hair and with a beard, right? Guys, not necessarily gals. So why do I have to appear homeless? I don't have to appear homeless. I've met Nazarites who use their fingers all the time to fix their hair. I didn't want it. I wanted something that would grow organically from my scalp. Right? With the Nazarite vow, it is the crown of consecration, a crown of separation. I'm not claiming this crown, make no mistake. But I am interested in attaining it, and that's what I'm shooting for, right? So If you say that the crown of consecration is on the head of the Nazarite man or woman, I wanted it to grow wild, as it says in the Torah, Gadel pera se'ar rosho. So that's why you could say I look homeless if you want. And the beard, again, I've never really shaved, so the beard is a wild beard. I trim the mustache, though, so I could be a better kisser. And so things don't get stuck, food and stuff. But that's the only thing. I just trim my mustache, and that's the only thing that I trim. So I don't have to appear homeless, but I know that people who are, let's say, stuck on externalities and aesthetics that don't match up with mine would see me as homeless. Many people see me as homeless, I'm sure. I'm not homeless. I have had always a lovely home to go home to, unless you count times when I was in the army and out in the field. And then, there were tents and stuff, which is also a kind of home. Do you get your wife in prone position? Why, I get my wife in so many positions. Thank God for that. Do you chew on foreskins? Red Pill Muscle asks. No, I don't chew on foreskins. Interestingly enough, someone asked me yesterday what foreskin tastes like. And I said, I don't know, since I've never engaged in oral sex with a guy. And I have never eaten foreskins. So I need to know, people, is this some sort of like a snack? Do you have like dried, deep fried foreskins? Right? Like that Louis C.K. bit where he went to this place in Chinatown and there was a barrel of duck vaginas? Right? Is it that kind of thing? Are they all Hebrew foreskins? Is this a snack in some place where you have the people who perform the circumcision, the moils, and they collect the foreskins, they deep fry them, they season them, right? And then they sell them, in like baggies, and this is just something you snack on a random Tuesday? I'd love to know, because this is the second time someone asked me about foreskins, which is interesting. So, yeah. They swallow them whole raw. Oh, okay. See, I would think if you're going to have the foreskin as a snack, you wouldn't swallow it raw. You would season it and deep fry it, give it some flavor, and then, it's a better crunch. I mean, there's probably nothing like a good, salty, crunchy foreskin. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. Foreskin? Asks Volt Cult. Why, yes. The skin that comes before. What's the Jew recipe? See, I don't know, because we don't eat foreskins. I think it's against the Torah to eat the foreskin. What I did with my son's foreskins was that I buried them in the earth, since they represent the excess, right? The part of the serpent that also was forced to eat the earth, right? It's that kind of thing. So I don't know what the Jew recipe is. Kosher salt? So kosher salt is just a different name for coarse salt, because you have fine table salt and you have coarse crystallized salt. All salt is crystal form, but there are smaller crystals and larger crystals. Coarse salt is called kosher salt because part of how you kosher meat is that you salt it, and when you salt it, all of the blood is extricated from the flesh. And in doing so, you make it more kosher, which is why the coarse salt became known as kosher salt. But all salt is kosher. Table salt, kosher salt, pink Himalayan salt. What other salts do I know? Seasoned salt, unless it's seasoned with, I don't know, things that are not kosher. But yes. You're the best Jew ever, says JW Others. Thanks, I appreciate that. I disagree on general principle, but I appreciate the kind sentiment and the good vibrations. Are you superior to other races, M37? Definitely not. I think anybody who says they're superior to anything is an ignoramus. I think that if, first of all, once again, I'm not gatekeeping. If you're saying you're superior, by all means, maybe you're superior. But it's something that needs to be actually shown and played out in reality. You can't just claim to be superior and not give evidence. So, I don't claim to be superior. I think that anybody who does is doing so in ignorance. And because that's like making such a broad generalization that it makes zero sense. Because in every race, in every ethnicity, you have good folk and bad folk. You have dummies and you have smarties. So it really makes no sense to have any kind of supremacy over anyone whatsoever, let alone with the idea, right? Not even talking of the idea that a human being is faulty, a human being is frail, a human being is fragile, a human being has so many shortcomings, just as is, that to claim superiority is such pride and such ignorance And then those are two things I try to stay away from to the best of my ability. I might still have them, but I try to stay away from them. Pride and arrogance are at the basis of so many horrible traits and things that I would want no part of. I believe that if you do have pride and arrogance, you should have it in a very, very tiny, tiny degree, like 1/60th, like it says in the Talmud. 1/60th. And to be very cautious, to discern and to know when to deploy that pride and arrogance. But no, I am not superior to anybody else. The Jewish race, the Hebrew race, is not superior to anybody else. We just have our way, and the nations have their ways, and we should each do our own thing. There are humans are superior. I will say that what's it called? I forget. There's a name for it, right? But a species, right? I've got the speciesism, right? And I'm vegan, right? So I care about the animals, and I think of them as creations of Adonai and all that. But there is a kind of superiority, right? We have mineral, vegetable, animal speaking. And we, unlike other animals, not the least of which mammals, have many different languages. We have many different ways of communicating, which is why that is a superior way of being in the world. But they just go with their nature, and we try to go with our nature. And the nature of the Hebrew people, right, is tied in with the specific divine revelation as it was revealed through Torah to the Hebrew tribes. But to say that you're superior than other human races, it's foolish and borderline stupid. That's what I'm thinking. Is eating booty vegan? Yes, it is. Yes, it is, assuming you have consent and assuming that we're talking about a human being, then yes, eating booty is vegan in the same way that that breast milk is vegan, right? And so you could argue over whether or not you should suckle at the breast directly, or whether you should deposit it in a cup, or whether you should put it in a big adult-sized bottle, or whether it should just be sort of, you should be on the top floor, she should be on the top floor, and you should be on the bottom floor, and you should open your mouth and she shoots it into you, if she can aim, to make a game out of it. But yes, breast milk is vegan, and in the very same way, eating booty is vegan. But people, if you're gonna eat booty, hey, again, no gatekeeping and no judgment. Do your thing, get down and dirty. It's the way to go. But it ought to be clean, because fecal matter in the mouth can bring all kinds of nasty things. So it should be clean, and there should be, ideally, you should talk about it beforehand, right? You don't want to just stick your tongue there without telling the person. So yeah, you look like you smell like a dirty sock. No, I smell pretty good. I mean, I don't smell like any expensive cologne right now, but I smell pretty good. So no, not a dirty sock. Why, I dare say my dirty sock don't even smell like a dirty sock. Nope, it smells pretty good. All right, so my dirty socks smell like washed socks, and I smell like not a dirty sock. Did I cover everything? Cool. Let's continue. Do you love cannabis? I do love cannabis. I don't partake of it anymore. I stopped smoking. But back when I was smoking, I loved it. I did it in measure. I loved taking a puff or two on a joint before, in the evening time once the kids were asleep. And I'm still a fan of cannabis as a medicinal thing if people need it, right? In the sense of industry, it has many, many, many uses. So I do love cannabis, but I don't partake of it right now. Your hair is haram. I agree, it is. Right? Your hair, the hair of the Nazarite is a hair of consecration. It's a crown of separation. So yes, it is haram. Haram is, right, holy in that sense. So women sucking cock is vegan or meat? Asks FMF. I'm assuming once again it's vegan. However, sucking is not eating. You're not consuming the cock, right? You're just sucking. And if we're going a step further, I guess the semen or sperm, the ejaculate, right, would also be vegan, just like breast milk. So yes, so vegan women are allowed to swallow, vegan men are allowed to swallow. I think that's the consensus, right? Now, whether or not they should swallow, they could swallow, halachically it's permitted, by the way. Tell the truth, you smell like an Arab's asshole, says Stinson. Maybe. I have never smelled an Arab's asshole. It could very well be that if there was an Arab right here next to me, with his Arab booty in my face, and I spread those cheeks and went, After the arousal passed, then I'd be able to tell you if we smell alike. But I don't know. So if you know better than me. You know, you're a wiser man than I am. You're telling the truth, Stinson. True story. Okay, let's continue. Semen is definitely meat. How is semen meat? How is semen meat? I'm not precisely getting this. Because semen, first of all, is a liquid, right? It's made up of sperm and of semen. So no, neither of those are meat, right? We know there's salt there. There's the sperm cells. There's what else is in there? I don't remember what's in there. Ass sniffing. This is true Jewish law, says J. Farber. You know what? Once again, if your partner is uncomfortable with it, maybe don't do it. But as long as it's done privately, and as long as it's done, as long as it's done with consent, and as long as it's done in a way that does not humiliate your partner in any way or make them feel like undignified, then yeah, definitely, this is the way. This is the frickin' way. Okay. To a vegan, semen might as well be meat. No, I disagree, Heather Detrick. I disagree. Semen is not meat, right? Because you could say that it's sort of like blood. Blood is a liquid, but no. No. I do see a difference between semen and any other bodily fluid, or rather, you know what? That raises a good question. That raises a good question. I'm not sure. Because look, it's definitely vegan, like breast milk is. However, if we're talking about all bodily fluids, I mean, what about sweat? What about urine? I'm pretty sure if it comes from a human that gave consent, it is vegan. Pretty sure. Which Hasidic group did you grow up in? I did not grow up in any Hasidic group. User BR8LJFZF8L. That's quite a mouthful. No, I did not grow up in any Hasidic group. I am a fan overall of Hasidism, primarily the ancient Hasidism and the few hundred years old modern day Hasidism. Breslev, Chabad, the OGs. But I did study some Hasidic teachings in my life. I am fond of certain Hasidic teachings, and the thing is that Hasidic teachings are based not entirely, but primarily on Lurianic Kabbalah. And I am not a Lurianic Kabbalist, so certain things miss the mark with me, and certain things definitely hit, right? So, yes. Let's see. Pooh, I can smell you through my phone, says Jose, or what is it? Uribe 5069. I can smell you through my phone. Dude, what phone do you have? This is major. You could revolutionize communications. It's just, you arrive at this stupid channel and say that you could smell me through your phone when you're sitting on a gold mine. What are you doing? Get off this channel and go market. Go be an entrepreneur. Some people, you got to tell them everything. My God. Semen is DNA. Well, all of you is DNA. All of you is DNA, Jesse. It's Jesse, right? Yeah, Jesse. All of you is DNA. You're made up of DNA. There's DNA in all of your cells. So the sperm cells have DNA, right? Well, what do you mean? Adrian says, shut the fuck up, you Jew. For how long? A few seconds? A minute? An hour? For life? No. What power do you have? Well, I'll show you my power. What do you think of that? Right on. Cheese is the only vegan if animal rennet isn't used. I actually have a couple of vegan cheeses. They were on sale. My wife got them for Shabbos, and I decided not to open them. I will keep them for this coming Shabbos. Gay Jew, says Carl Quintus Swift. No, I'm not gay. As I've said before, many people call me gay. I am not gay. I mean, I've been married for 20-something years, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gay. I could be closeted. The thing is that I've never actually seen a guy and thought to myself, oh my God, who is that? I want him inside me or me inside him right now. I've never thought that. So I'm not saying that I would never be attracted to a man. Some guys are pretty, but I suppose, right? But I've never been sexually attracted to a guy. Does that make me gay? Does it make me slightly bi? I don't know, but whatever it is, I'll go with it. Your wife is probably. Oh, I'm sorry, the chat just jumped. Incel Jew. You think I'm involuntary celibate? Really? Milk is not vegan. Yes, I know milk is not vegan. I said breast milk. Breast milk is vegan. You don't look gay, says Ice Pop. Hey, you know what? Gay comes in many, many flavors. I don't get it. Jesus was a Jew, says Lawrence. Are you questioning if Jesus was a Jew? Are you asking if Jesus was a Jew? Are you responding to someone in the chat who said Jesus was not a Jew? I don't know. Wait, someone said something about my wife. Where is it? I'd love to read that. Are you from Israel? Yes, I am. Axel Hernand 3726. I'm in Jerusalem as we speak. Oh, come on. I'm going to miss it? No, I don't know where it is now. Okay, whatever. Let's just keep going. People, whoever wrote something about a question about my wife, I'd love to address it. Please write it again. Oh, I said your wife is probably a minor. No. I met her when I was 16 and she was 15. So we're both not minors, but we met when we were minors. Huh? How cool is that? Can you explain what Nazarites are? Well, Numbers 6. Nazarites grow their hair long, or grow their hair. It doesn't have to be long. Mine happens to be. They abstain from anything to do with grapes, grape products, raisins, wine vinegar, wine, anything that has grapes in it. And the certain Nazarites abstain from defilement of a corpse, a human body. Other Nazarites, like Samson Nazarites, like me, do not. And traditionally, right, they eat kosher, they keep all the commandments. It's just a specific sort of individual covenant that a person makes between him and the Hebrew God. So that's just it. That's all it is. What did I stumble upon? This is like a Weird Al thing or what? So I love me some Weird Al. I think he's really, really great. Over the years, he has done so many things, and I love the fact that he gets permission from the artists that he is spoofing. I think he has a class act. He's never been involved in any kind of scandal or any kind of scandalous thing. I mean, that doesn't mean it might not happen. I don't know what'll happen, but so far he has just been entertaining. He gave us Amish Paradise. He gave us Fat. He gave us Eat It. He gave us so many good things. What do you think of Nick Fuentes? I don't know Nick Fuentes. I've heard the name on a podcast here or there, but I don't know who that is. I don't know what the deal is with him. I know he's probably in the States. That's all I know. So can't think anything of a person I know nothing about. Sorry, man. Hate to disappoint you is what I meant to say. What are your thoughts on metzitza b'peh? So this is something where it's a dispute, right, on whether or not you actually need to suck the blood. So I mentioned this a day or two ago as well. These questions keep coming up. No, never mind. What are my thoughts? My thoughts are that if it's done with a sterile, like the moil, right, that performed circumcision on my kids, did it with a sterile, one-time, single-use, small apparatus. So what do I think of it? I think that there are spiritual reasons for performing that physical ritual. And also I think that it might not precisely be necessary depending on who you ask. But my thoughts on it? My thoughts are that this is a physical covenant in the flesh that represents a spiritual covenant between a person and the Most High God. And as such, right, it has different levels, let's say, or different parts to it. Right? Milah pri'ah metzitza. You have the cutting of the foreskin, you have the spreading of the skin, and then you have the sucking out of the blood. So I'm hoping and praying that people won't actually put their mouths on the baby's penis, because that, once in a while, could be harmful. But as long as they do it with an apparatus that is sterile, that is single use, I see no problem with it. Also, it's not like they suck, like a chocolate milk, in a huge glass, like. No, it's just a tiny little floop, and I think that it has a lot of spiritual meaning, right? If you look into the meaning of the covenant of circumcision, the spiritual meanings, and if you look into the idea of what the blood is, like it says in the Torah, that the blood is the life force, hadam hu hanefesh, and if you're thinking about the fact that we are here cutting off something which covers the organ which brings life into creation, right? There are many, many, many intricacies and nuances about the way that the ritual is performed. what is going on there spiritually. There's a reason why Elijah the prophet, the messenger of the covenant, is invited, let's say, to all of these. There's a reason why the Moil invokes the name of Eliyahu, who did not die, right? Who did not shed blood. You know what I'm saying? Or who didn't, he shed blood of others. He did not shed his own blood. There's a lot there. There's a lot there, and I don't know enough about the intricacies as far as the spirituality of the covenant. I know it in my flesh, I know it in my kids' flesh, and I do know a thing or two about it, but not enough. So my initial thoughts on Metzitza B'Peh is that as long as it's done cleanly and hygienically, I don't see a problem with it. I don't see a problem with it. Okay, let's continue in the chat. Going down, going down. Whoa, I need to scroll down so much. My God, I love you people. This is so much fun. You give me such pleasure. I derive such sustenance and nourishment with engaging with you. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's a wonder. It really is that I can, have here a cup of coffee. It's raining outside, and the baby's asleep, and I've been up since 4:30 in the morning, and now I just get to do this and chill with you, and have a back and forth and have some discourse and have a laugh and take it easy. And for those who it's now the holiday season for, more power to you. Enjoy the holiday, enjoy the time off. I hope you're taking advantage of it. I hope this right here is of some value, some entertainment, a brief laugh. If you want to laugh at the way that I look, if you want to say that I'm a, misogynistic baby rapist, you go right ahead and do that. Whatever makes you feel good inside. I do appreciate it a great deal. So I take my coffee black. No sugar, no cream, no milk, obviously, not even vegan milk. How do you take your coffee, people? I drink 1 cup in the morning. Maybe on a rare occasion I'll drink a 2nd cup, depending. I mean, when the baby was first born, definitely I drank 2 cups a day for the first few months. I'm back to 1 cup a day now. And that reminds me of that Garfield comic where he says, "I am, however, up to 50 donuts a day," and he's got this huge mug. So yeah, how do you take your coffee? I'd love to know. Ooh, Swamp Witch said, LSD is a great thing to have in your life. I agree. You just need to do it in measure, set and setting. Respect the substance, people. It makes your mind work the rest the time to get it out there in time to make manna for the day or the night before the day before the day. I have no idea what that means, Swamp Witch, but I agree. LSD, when it's done right, can be a wonderful thing. I have tripped on LSD a few times in my life, and I've never had a bad trip. I've always had wonderful experiences on hallucinogens, and, A, by the grace of God, not me, and B, because I do take caution for the set and setting to be proper. I take the time, right? I think about what it is that I'm doing. I always have a lovely ritual, whether it's recreation or whether it's a heavier dose. And the same thing with shrooms, the same thing with MDMA. So yeah, LSD is really lovely. And let's not forget what Marge Simpson said, right? I love my son and daughter. Yep, some LSD is all I need. What do you think of the Jewish oligarchy in the US? Well, look, I'm not from the US, so I can't speak of what goes on there. I know that there's this idea of this Jewish cabal controlling the world, which raises the question, why are the Jews so mistreated if they control the world? You'd think if they controlled everything from the lowest to the highest, and they have people everywhere and anywhere, you'd think we'd have a better time in this world, without all the persecution, and without all the killing, without all of the genocide, but that's not the case. Now, let's grant that and say that there is a Jewish oligarchy in the US. I think that if there is such a thing, it means that these people were not elected. And so they are more like lobbyists, right, whispering at the ears of the politicians. So what you'd have to do as a voting citizen is go for the people who would say, I am not going to take any external advisors that you don't okay, the people. If you have someone who says that, then, and they actually live up to it, then you're in a position where you could say, okay, here's a politician that I voted for, and he is not being controlled by people who were not voted in. He's being controlled still by the people, right? It's the people who have the power. If the people have the power and not the ones who have the money, not the ones who have the influence, the politicians are marionettes. The politicians are puppets. You have people behind the scenes, right? The people with the money and the lobbyists and the influencers in the political spheres. I don't know anything about it. I'm ignorant. But if such a thing exists, like as a Jewish oligarchy in the US, it means that there is a chance to rein it in, right? There's a chance to rein it in if the people get together and decide enough, right? In the very same way that the Jews are 0.2% of the population, and yet people say they control the world. It does not make sense on any level. Now look, there are Jews in positions of power, there are Jews in positions of influence, there are very rich Jews. From that to saying that we control the world, that's a stretch. That's a very great and big leap. We affect the world, I think we've proven that, but we don't control the world. That's, do you people think that there's a Jewish oligarchy in the States? Please tell me. I'd love to know. I don't live in the States. I do have a passport, but I don't live in the States. It does. That's why you are still living there. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe you're reacting to someone else, Luminous Dark. I don't know if you're reacting to me, to what I said, or to someone else. Sorry, dude. Or dudette. Razman says, love Jews, love Israel and Jews from Iran, love Israel and Jews from Iran. Hey, thank you. The people of Iran, speaking of things that need to be overthrown, I believe that many of the people there who are secular will eventually get together and overthrow the Islamic Republic regime. But right now, that's the case, right? It was the coup in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. And before that, Iran, right? The Persian people were prosperous and they were relatively secular. They were relatively modern, relatively liberal. And then the religious party took over, and that's it for a while now. It could be the case that the tables will turn. Could be the case. I don't know. I really don't. Only race is the human race, says the nerdy Gertie. Why are we racing? Well, the race eventually is only with yourself, right? You may think that you're in the rat race, you may think that you're doing this or that or the other. Eventually, the race is only with yourself. Comparison is the thief of joy. So the only one to compare yourself to is you. Where you've gone, where you've been, where are you going, what are you doing? That's what you should be doing there. Ostelila asks, are you a Kabbalist? No, I am not a Kabbalist. I am a student of the Tree of Life. I've studied this lore and these pearls of wisdom ever since I'm 16. However, I am not a Kabbalist. I am a student of the Tree of Life. That's my definition anyway. I do know plenty of Kabbalists, and digitally and in real life, but I am not one, no. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still studying, even after all these years, right? Introductions to introductions of introductions. That's what I say every time, because I truly do feel that way. The wisdom of the Kabbalah is so deep that I feel like I am always on the cusp and always on the threshold and just inching in slowly. Also because I still have habits and I still have inclinations towards negativity and I still have anger and I still have things that I need to rid myself of, right? Pride and arrogance and anger and ego. There are still some things I need to shed. And simultaneously with learning this amazing and beautiful lore of the Ten Sefirot. Yes. The Tree of Life is Kabbalah. Yes, I am a student of the Tree of Life, but I'm not a Kabbalist, right? Because I think that people have a certain association with Kabbalist, and that's not me. But I am a student of the Tree of Life. And that's always how I've thought of, that's always what I thought of as myself. You are a Zionist, just accept it. I never said I'm not a Zionist. I am a biblical Zionist and I'm a modern day Zionist, but I do attribute greater significance to ancient Zionism as opposed to modern day Zionism. Right? The modern day Zionism, as it's known right now, right, with the state of Israel and the government and the army and everything that entails, while I am a supporter, I am not a blind follower. Right? So I'm a supporter, but not a blind follower. And I don't support everything the military does, and I don't support everything that the government does, and I don't support everything that the state of Israel as such does. Right? Not everything, but I'm a part of it, and I live here. I've gone to the army. I pay my taxes. I do what I can. But I definitely don't deny that there are many faults, many shortcomings, many places in which we must do better. It is incumbent on us to do better. Because we can. We really, really can. Dirty Jew, says Donald Trump 123. Yes, I am a dirty Jew. Isn't it great? Ugh. And to think I could have been born a clean, someone else. kind of life is that? Let's continue. Do you guys have fast food? I mean, in Israel, there's tons of fast food, but I don't partake of fast food normally. Frozen food sometimes. Of course, I'll heat it up before I bite into it. But no, I'm not a fan of fast food. I try and stay away from it. Nice hair, bro, says Kurtenfeld. Kurtneufeld. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's just hair. It just grows like that, and it's just hair. Y'all Jews are smart as fuck, says Lawrence Aradillos. Some Jews are smart, some Jews are stupid. Some Gentiles are smart, and some Gentiles are stupid. The smart and stupid scale is across the board. There is that idea that Ashkenazi Jews have a higher IQ by percentage. There is that idea of the Nobel prizes, not the bullshit piece one, the actual Nobel prizes in science, economy, and so on. That they are given disproportionately out to Jews throughout the history of the Nobel Prize. But no, I still say, okay, let's grant that, and still, no, there are some really, really stupid people out there, Jews and Gentiles alike. Stupidity is something that reigns across the board, as does, being smart. It's part of genetics, yes, but it doesn't have to be, and you're born with a certain amount of IQ, but you can increase, right, your IQ and your EQ for that matter, right? Your intellect, you can learn how to refine it. Maybe not increase it in points of like a proper IQ test, but you can increase your intelligence quotient if not in the sense like academically, you can still increase it through experience and through integrating things. And this does make you better and wiser. So your IQ and your EQ, even though you're born with a certain amount, you can do something about it. I don't know how much, though. I'm not a researcher. Do you believe in Jesus? Asked Tyler Quick. I believe that Jesus, if he was around, right, was a righteous Hebrew man, likely died a righteous Hebrew man, but I don't believe he's my God, Lord, or Savior, or Son of God, or anything of the sort. I believe he could have been, a potential Messiah, a potential sage, a potential king, a potential prophet, until he died, and when he died, that's it. He's dead. And even if he was resurrected 3 days later, like they say, that still doesn't make him any of those things. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Who do you hate more, Jesus or a Muslim? I don't hate Jesus or Islam. I don't hate Christianity or Muslims, Red Pill. Why would you presume that I hate? No, I try to stay away from hate. Hate is something that infests your heart and it gets into your mind, and it's like a poisonous, toxic thing. So I don't hate. And I try not to hate. I definitely don't hate people categorically. Jews, Muslims, Christians, Jesus. So no, I don't hate. Why do you guys call us Gentiles or Goy? Goy means nations. That's all it means. Goy means nation. Israel is also a Goy. This says this in the Torah. Israel is called a Goy. Israel is also a Goy. The thing is that there's Israel, and then there's the other nations also known as Goyim. Goyim means nations. That's the literal translation of the word, nations. The word means nation, people. So why do you guys call us Gentiles or Goy is because you are not of the Hebrew tribes, you are not of the people of Israel, so by definition you are a different nation, and so we call you the people of the nations, in the same way that Muslims call the Jews the people of the book. It's like the association is that you're this or you're that, and so that's how you're named. However, in recent many, many years, it has been used pejoratively, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't think that the connotation is always deserved. In some cases it might be, but definitely not across the board. I don't speak in absolutes, guys. Only the Sith deal in absolutes, and I try to stay away from the dark side. Derek Chase says, I think all Abrahamic faiths are dumb and silly and pointless. I dislike any group that thinks they have the one right way to something imaginary. I agree. I'm very much in agreement with you, Derek. They definitely have dumb and silly and pointless elements to them. Where we probably don't agree is that I say that the core of Abraham is a righteous and kind core. I think that the core of the Abrahamic faith as such, and the belief in a higher power, right? Conceptualize it as this, that, or the other. It's a higher power, a one creator, unique, right? I think that has a lot of merit. However, by the time it comes into the hands of people and religious, organized religion and organized religious people, that's when it really, really goes to hell. So any group that thinks they have the one right way to something imaginary, I agree, they don't. They have a way, right? I have the Hebrew way. Other people have their way. So I agree with you in principle that what you're saying is correct, but at the root of it, there is a righteousness and a kindness and a truth and a benevolence to the Abrahamic idea, which is why his name was changed from Avram to Avraham, which is why he's called Avram HaIvri, the Hebrew, right? He's on one side and the entire world is on the other side. And he went with his truth. He went all in on his faith. He went all in on his belief. He went all in with what he discovered to be this great truth, right, for himself. This wisdom, this Torah that he was taught internally by his kidneys, says the Mishnah. Or was it the Talmud? No, it's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So the Mishnah. You need to go to a barbershop, mate, says Saldar. I do go to a barbershop when my kids get haircuts, and the barbers always give me quite a look. So, yes. Why do y'all have a superiority complex and think you are somehow chosen? So, again, there's being chosen and there's being selected, and those are not the same thing. Chosen has this awful, obnoxious arrogance to it of, ooh, I've been chosen. No. We've been selected. We've been selected to carry on the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what we've been selected for. Also, please remember, our own Bible says that in the end of days, or whenever the heck it happens, God will pour his Spirit upon all flesh. We are one human race, people. In Eden. Consider Eden. No Jews or Gentiles. No Hebrew, no English. Right? I mean, no Hebrew and English in the sense of a duality, right? No other tongues, no other cultures, no other faiths, no other religions. Just God and mankind and nature. That's what I think of, right? That's what I go for. That's what I'm aiming at. So, if you're saying that if you're saying why do y'all have a superiority complex, I do not have a superiority complex. I think that the Torah teaches humility. The Torah teaches to stay away from feelings of superiority, pride, and arrogance. So I don't have a superiority complex personally, to the best of my knowledge, which is incomplete. Jews in general, I think, don't have a superiority complex either. So I don't understand the question. Trivialize. Trill Avision TV. What is this superiority complex that you speak of? Can you explain it? Can you tell me, give me proper examples of when Jews have said they are better? Right? So, as far as I'm concerned, anybody who takes this virtue signal of, oh, I've been chosen, I am virtuous, look at me, is doing a disservice to himself or herself before anybody. And if you're going to say that you're chosen, by all means, prove it. Prove it. Live it out. Don't say it. That's just bullshit. You need to live it out in the world. Moses told the people of Israel, if you keep to the covenant, if you keep the commandments, right, the people around you will look and say, hey, these people have something going on. There's some wisdom to what they're doing. But he didn't say, go and tell them who you are. No. He said, show them. But just by doing your thing. It's so passive. It's not even an active thing. It's not even go and do this and that. No. It's by virtue of simply you doing your Hebrew thing, right? It will be self-evident. But Jews who do have a superiority complex, if they do, they are either a little insane, because who in their right mind would have one? Maybe chemically imbalanced, or maybe, I don't know what, narcissistic. And if they are claiming moral or religious or global superiority, please prove it. Prove it every day, all the time. If you're going to wear this crown, this tiara of calling yourself the chosen people, it's on you to actually fucking do it. That's it. There's no two ways about that, which is why I don't consider myself chosen. I barely consider myself selected, right? That's just by virtue of me being born to a Jewish mother. So I didn't earn that. I need to earn it with my life. I need to earn it by taking on the burden of Torah and commandments, right? And being a good person, trying to love my neighbor, trying to love my God, prayer, Sabbath, the good stuff. But if you're asking why there is a superiority complex, I suppose that if you've been beaten down and persecuted so much throughout the generations, you'd want to feel a little good about yourself. And so you'd say, yeah, based on a verse that says this or that, even if it's not exactly what was meant there, yeah, I'll go with that. We're better. I don't think we're better. I think we are all human beings trying to navigate this world, trying to make the best of the cards, the hand that we're dealt. The eternal victim, says Lil Mike. When did I play the victim? Oh, unless you're responding to somebody else. If you are, forgive me. But if you're not, the eternal victim. I'm sorry, do you doubt that the Jewish people have been persecuted throughout the generations? Is there any doubt in your mind? Just look at recorded history, let alone before that. There's no denying that the Jews are one of the most persecuted people in the history of recorded history. And if they aren't, please, by all means, tell me how. Show me. I'll agree with you if you show me. But definitely, Jews have been persecuted. And people wanted to annihilate us all the time, constantly, even right now. There are armies surrounding Israel who want to annihilate Israel, who want to kill me dead just by virtue of me being born a Jew, right? A Hebrew man. So you could say that I'm playing victim, or that I'm, the eternal victim. Maybe. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I am going to call you out and say, at what point did I claim victimhood as opposed to other people who are victims? We're all victims. We are all thrown into this world. None of us choose to be born. None of us. We are all cast into this world of knowledge of good and evil, and Lord knows that we are forced to know this good and this evil. It exists within us. It exists outside of us. It's part of how we live our lives. All of us are victims. The question is, now what? We're all victims. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? Okay. Good night, Hebrew Nazarite, says Sixth Sense, and chat room community. Interesting discussion and live stream. Thank you. I appreciate that, and thank you as well. Listen, this is what it's about. Precisely that. Interesting discussion. That's all that's happening here. There's no superiority as far as I'm concerned. I'm just here talking to you good people. We're having a conversation. That's what it is. Okay. Ostlila says, not gonna lie, I don't know why you are fronting anti-Semitism like this, but hearing you talk is great. Fronting anti-Semitism? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Could you dumb it down for me? I'm ignorant. What does it mean to front? Do you mean that I am a front to it? Or what do you mean fronting anti-Semitism? Hold on a second. Just because I want to know what that means. No, you know what? I won't do that. But please, someone in the chat, tell me, what does it mean to front anti-Semitism? I don't know what that means. Hey, you got some shit in your hair, says Barry Dingle 481. I have shit in my hair? That doesn't make any sense. When I changed the baby's diaper earlier, I was very careful to put my hair in a ponytail. No, I don't think I have shit in my hair. When I took the kids to kindergarten earlier, no bird pooped on my head, and I know this because I had my hood up because it's raining. No shit in my hair. Now, if you don't mean some kind of actual feces, and you mean something unsavory, that I would go with. There is a chance that there is something unsavory in my hair, try as I might to take care of it. So, thank you. I appreciate that, Barry Dingle. I do appreciate it. Chabad kvetching as usual. Well, I'm not a Chabadnik, so that's wrong. Also, do Chabad kvetch as a usual thing? I honestly don't know. Are Chabadniks known as kvetchers? Really? I don't know. Let's continue. Are you Ashkenazi or Mizrahi? I am a Hebrew man. My ancestors come from here, so I am Middle Eastern. But due to exile, destruction, and tragedy, my people, my family, was forced into Europe. And at least 150 years ago, they were in Europe. That's where it stands. And then they moved to the States, and then my folks moved here to Israel. So I don't look at the Ashkenazi, Sfaradi, Mizrahi, Taimani. I don't look at any of that. If you're a Hebrew, you're a Hebrew. That's all I care about. Too many seeds of discontent and division. Too many. This is what exile does to a people. This is what exile does, right? It causes you to want to stick to your traditions so much that you forget that there was an earlier path, an earlier tradition. So now we are split up into the places where we came from in exile. But I look past the exile, right? I look way, way, way back. I look back to Eden. I look back to Zion. I don't want to spend my life bickering over, oh, he came from this and she came from there and you came from there. And no, 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 no. So I'm Ashkenazi, right, by recent ancestry, and I'm Middle Eastern, Judean, Levite, a Hebrew man by ancient ancestry. And I choose to go with the ancient one. That's simply the case. The third temple will be destroyed once again, just wait. Well, for studying, could very well be. I'm of the opinion that we can bypass a third temple altogether. We don't necessarily need the building. We don't need the precious stones. We don't need the animal and vegetarian sacrifices. We don't need the blood. We don't need the water. We don't need the oil, right? We don't need the garments. What we need is to have our bodies, our souls, right? That image of God in which we are all created. That is what we need to manifest. Right? We don't need in the same way a king, an anointed one. We are the anointed ones. We can be kings if we rule ourselves, if we are disciplined enough, right, to receive the divine revelation and manifest that image of God in which we are truly, each and every one of us, created. That is how we will bypass, right? And it will happen in love, God willing. Not through suffering, not through strife, not through division, and not through war and bloodshed and murder and tragedy and destruction. No, it'll happen through peace and love and understanding and justice, right? And kindness and having respect towards one another. This is what truly will bring redemption eventually to the entire human race as one. No more division, no more cultures, no more religions, no more, nothing, 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 nothing. And the third temple, if it will be built, I hope it will be vegan. If it's destroyed, it might be destroyed. But I still say that we don't need the temple. What we need is to be the image of God ourselves, right? We don't need that middleman of a building. We don't need the middleman of a priest. We don't need the middleman of animal or vegetarian sacrifices, right? Our life is the sacrifice, the way we live it, not our death. I mean in the way that we live our life. Do you keep Shabbat? Yes, I do. I keep it every single week. User BR8. I keep Shabbat. I love Shabbat. It is, I disconnect. No screens, no TV, I don't turn lights on and off. It's a time for prayer. It's a time for good food. It's a time for family. It's a time for meditation. It's a time for studying the deeper lore of the Torah. Because I usually don't study, I don't study the deeper teachings throughout the week. During the weekdays, I study it on Shabbat, so Shabbat is a very special day. It's a covenant that belongs not just to the Jews, right? Now it belongs to the Jews because we are the ones who accepted it as part of the Torah. But originally, there was supposed to be this Edenic Sabbath, right? Mankind, not Jews, mankind was created on the sixth day. And before the sunset of the sixth day of creation, we were already cast out. Meaning that the original Eden Shabbat, the Edenic Shabbat that was supposed to take place, where we would partake of the fruit of the tree of life, never happened. And now we are stuck in a world between worlds, right? We are stuck in that time between getting kicked out and between the sun setting on the sixth day and welcoming that Edenic Sabbath that never took place. Which is why Shabbat is called Me'ein Olam Haba, a taste of the coming world. Shabbat is a great covenant. It's an unbelievable covenant because it's not just for Jews initially. Much like the rainbow, it was something between God and all creation. So now with the rainbow, it's known as a natural phenomenon, of course, nobody disputing that. Shabbat is something that belongs to the Jews right now, but the Edenic Sabbath, right? The real Shabbos that is still about to show up, that is when, God willing, we will all be united in celebration, resting from this world of labor and of toil and of the rat race of being a human being in this body, in this world. That's what we're shooting for. And Shabbos, right? Shabbos is happening once a week in this world, on the way to the Edenic Shabbos, the great Shabbos, the Shabbos, capital T-H-E. So yes, I keep Shabbat because it's a reminder of the covenant between us and God. It's a reminder of the covenant between Israel and God. Right? When I say us, I mean humanity, creation. And I keep it because it's a covenant that's supposed to remind us that the spirituality is what we're shooting for. part of this physical world. And it's also a reminder that if you don't prepare things, they will not be done. If you don't create a vessel, right, you will have no spiritual content inside of it. And if you don't prepare the meal before the Sabbath, you won't have what to eat, or at least not, not anything prepared. So yes, I keep Shabbat. I've always kept Shabbat. Over the years, right, I grew up modern Orthodox here in Jerusalem. Over the years, I've been more religious, I've been less religious, I've been more adherent to halakha, I've been less adherent to halakha, right, rabbinic law. But Shabbos is something that I've always kept, and I've been very, very, right, I've kept it religiously, one might say. I love Shabbos. It is my favorite day of the week. Truly, truly, truly. It's a wonder. It really is a wonder. And I love it. The queen, right? The queen. That's the time when the daughter becomes a queen. That's Shabbat, which is why it's called Shabbat the Queen. Shabbat HaMalkah. Okay. Josh G. Hey, nice to see you again, man. Who cares? Can live? Who you think you should religions are made up. What? Who cares, Ken? I'm sorry, is there someone named Ken in the chat? Or, I don't know, man. I don't know if you're referring to what I said or not. I'm sorry. Do you enjoy the Passover? Bo Jiden 979 asks. Yes, I do. I'm a fan of Passover. I love the different rituals. I don't partake of the 4 cups of wine because I'm a Nazarite, but I do partake of 4 glasses of orange juice, of apple juice, pardon me, as was the custom of the Nazarite rabbi Rabbi David HaKohen, who died in the early 70s. He was a Nazarite rabbi here in Jerusalem. There is something stuck on the side of your hair. It looks like a leaf or something. Makes sense because on the way, I took the kids earlier today, I took the kids to kindergarten, and on the way just outside, on the way down the steps, there are trees that hang in my hair, and occasionally I'll get like a twig or a leaf or something in my hair. So I don't know, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I'll shower later, it'll come out. What do you think of Chinese philosophy and history, asks Lawrence. Well, I'm a fan of the Tao Te Ching. I'm a fan of the I Ching, although I haven't read it to the degree that I've read Tao Te Ching. I enjoy very much. History, I can't speak of, because I haven't studied Chinese history. I know with the wars with Japan and all that, it was awful. But, okay, let's not go there. So Chinese philosophy, I don't know a lot about it, but what I do know makes a lot of sense to me, right? And there's a lot of wisdom there in the Chinese philosophy that I have read. But I am ignorant and I have not read much of it. But I truly am a fan of the Tao Te Ching. Lao Tzu was the man. He didn't, the things that now I read a Hebrew translation of the Tao Te Ching, and I've read a different Hebrew translation, and I've read 1 or 2 English translations. And I believe, knowing what I know from Hebrew, right? None of them can compare, I'm sure, to the proper Mandarin, is it, or Chinese, be it simplified or traditional. I don't know. I know from the computer, I know that there are both. I think that there are many different ways in, right, pictographs. At any rate, I am a fan of some Chinese philosophy, but I wouldn't presume to know anything about it. I don't know it. I don't know it. Is geometria real? So geometria is the study of shapes. That's geometry. I think you mean gematria, which is the numerical value of the Hebrew letters and the way that it pertains to life here and to the different teachings that are conveyed there. The short answer, yes. The long answer is, while gematria is real, like our sages say, it needs to be like a dessert, right? It shouldn't be the main course. It should be a dessert or something like an hors d'oeuvre, something where you start off a teaching with it and then slide into the meat and potatoes, or something that rounds out a teaching with a nice little gematria, right? They say tkufot vegimatriot parperaot lachochma, right? The gematria and the Jewish, Hebrew, astrology, not the other one, right? So gematria and astrology are the dessert of wisdom, right? But it's not the actual wisdom itself. While there is wisdom in it, if you're talking about Torah, you need to anchor your things, right? Anchor your wisdom in Torah, and anchor your wisdom in like the sacred texts and whatever, and then, or action, and then you can bring on a gematria as a supplement, right? As something to like round it out and give it an extra benefit and give it an extra push and give it an extra kind of flavor, right? But not as a main course. And that's what I think. And that's how I do it. I know that tons of, right, Tao Te Ching, I know it's pronounced differently. Now, the I know that some people attribute great significance to Gematria from the onset, and it is significant. The question is how you use it. And I'm not a fan personally of people who want to teach you something or have a certain teaching in Torah, and after one sentence immediately slide into Gematria. There are 12 different ways of deriving Gematria. 12 of them according to Rabbi Moshe Cordovero in Pardes Rimonim. And that's my favorite book. I've been studying it for over a decade now. 12 different ways of 11 or 12 different ways of deriving gematria, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't looked at that chapter or gate in a while, but I'm pretty sure it's 12. 12 different ways, which means that you can manipulate the numbers in any sort of way. And he says it in the book. He says, don't make the mistake of thinking that just because you can manipulate the numbers and the letters to get to the outcome that you want, that makes it true. No, it needs to be anchored in something of truth. It needs to be anchored in something of substance. And only then, if you bring the gematria in, that would be cool. That gives it an extra little something. So it is real, but you just need to know how to use it, I think, properly. Kerr Creatives. What first drew you to public speaking, and do you do it in other public places? So, well, look, I mean, I'm a writer. I've read poetry on stage, and I've given a lecture or two on the Nazarite ship. A few people attended because, Nazarites. Most people don't even know that the Nazarite ship still exists. As for what drew me to public speaking here online, I felt very much called to it because I was looking for other Nazarites on YouTube. I wanted to connect with them, and I have since discovered several Nazarites on YouTube and in real life, and I've met with them, a few here in Jerusalem. It's a real trip. And I think what drew me to public speaking is this, look, I'm a writer, I'm an artist of the written word, and I'm not just wearing that crown. That's simply what I do for a living, right? I'm a copywriter, I'm a screenwriter by trade, I'm a copywriter and a content writer and a blogger. Words are my play and my passion, and I love them. I love to write them, I love to speak them, I love to study them, I love to gain more of them. So I think that it's not that I was drawn to public speaking. I think it's that I felt the need. So it's not something that drew me in. It's more me feeling the need inside to open up my boca and speak, whether it's poetry or whether it's I've also done slam poetry in Jerusalem and in Tel Aviv a long time ago. For a short while, that was fun. I had a blackout on stage, all right? Here's the thing. Before I cut out all alcohol from my life, shortly after I took my vow, because that was wine and grapes, but shortly after I cut out all alcohol, there was one instance where I had a gig, a poetry slam, a slam poetry event, and I had written something just like a day or two ago. I didn't have time to rehearse it, and I like doing it without the paper. I like doing it, from by heart on stage. And I didn't have enough time to prepare. Not only did I not have enough time to prepare, but I consumed a liter of beer, right? 2 pints, something like that, right? A liter of beer before I went on stage. I was hanging out with my friend at a bar, and then I said, hey, I got this poetry thing. And I walk up on stage, and I give the first sentence or 3 of the poem, and then I just go blank. And I'm looking out at that crowd. And then I did the unthinkable. I pulled out the piece of paper that I had written it on. I'm like smoothing it out. I could not get through it. It was an awful feeling. I learned a valuable lesson that day. But, in humility and in preparation and in don't go on stage unprepared. And don't go on stage thinking you have it after a liter of beer is in your head. I had very low tolerance, always have, to alcohol. A liter of beer in my head. And if you are going to go up and you have a liter of beer in your head, and you know that it's a relatively new poem and you didn't have a lot of time to rehearse, God, just take out the paper from the beginning and read it off the page. Is it as professional or clean or polished? No. But at least you would have gotten through it, Jonathan. Come on. So yeah. So public speaking, I guess it's something that I enjoy doing, whether it's in front of people on stage or whether it's in front of you good people on a pixelated screen. It's something I enjoy doing. I love the energy, and I can feel the energy, let's say, even right here and now, even though nobody is actually speaking at me. There's no voice, and even though I don't see other pairs of eyes, I can't know exactly what's going on with you wherever you are when you're getting this, whether live or later. But I do know that there's an energy, and this is why I go live. Because it's not just public speaking. If I wanted to do public speaking, I could just record a video and then upload it. But no, being raw, being live. That's what I love about it. And that's what I love about being on stage as well. I mean, I haven't been on stage in a long time, but that's what I loved about it as well. It's raw and real and happens in the moment, right? It's in the moment. In that sense, it's very, very cool, and I love that. I appreciate this as Creatives, and as do I. I appreciate you, good people. You can tell I love this. You can tell that I'm enjoying myself, and that's what it's. I get so much benefit out of this. I do. It's no small thing. It's no small thing that I get to do this right on a Monday morning. I should be working, but I'll clock in later because my wife is working later in the day and I won't have time to broadcast in the evening. So I'm taking time now to do this, and I'm glad because in different times of day I get to catch different people in different time zones. And so people who may not be able to get me live if I do it at like 10 p.m. Israel time would be able to get it if I do it 10 a.m. Israel time. So I love to change it up. EEGINR. Well, humid. Oh man, what is this? Humid or humper? Humid or humper? Isn't it obvious you should be both? You should be wet and you should be humping. Am I right? Come on. Why is it 50% of the people in the chat being anti-Semitic, says Bo Jiden? Because I'm a Hebrew man, and that by definition calls the anti-Semitic energy to me. And I take it in and I go, like that. Have you read The Sacred Magic of Abrahamlin the Mage, says the likes of meh. Great username, the likes of meh. No, I have not. But if it's magic with a K or a C, I want no part of it, because even though there might be wisdom there and lore that is worthy of absorbing and of integrating, that idea of sacred magic does not appeal to me, right? It does not appeal to me. I'm not, which is also why I'm not into Kabbalah Ma'asit or Ma'asit, right? The practical Kabbalah. That's not what I'm into. I'm into the intellectual Kabbalah. I'm into the lore of the tree of life as it pertains to me on a personal level, to be sure, but not as a practical, like magic sort of thing, controlling the elements, invoking angels. None of that. I want no part of that. And if I should be a part of that, I'm sure it will be revealed to me at a proper time. If you jump the gun with these things and you try and invoke certain spiritual entities and you're not worthy, they may do your bidding, but they will be waiting for you at the end. You know what I'm saying? And I'm paraphrasing my rabbi in Sfat 20-something years ago in yeshiva, where he said it. He said, yeah, if you know what to do, it's a very technical thing. If you know the proper ritual, right, and how to get it done, and what names to invoke, and where to turn, and how to breathe, and what to think, and what to say, then you will be able to do these things, yes. But then you might pay a price, because you need to be worthy of dominion over creation. We human beings made in the image of God are meant to have dominion over creation, yes. But we need to be worthy of it. We need to earn it. We need to merit it through good deeds, right? We need to merit it through somebody from work is messaging me. Maybe I should say goodbye. It's been an hour and 38 minutes. Should I say goodbye? You know what? I'll take that as a yes. If someone from work is messaging me, I'll take it as an omen that I'll say goodbye. I do need to get to work now, but this has been lovely. People, good people, I love this. I appreciate your time and your kind and gentle attention. The likes, the subs, the views, the comments, the chats, the haters, the lovers, the anti-Semites, the people who think I'm straight, the people who think I'm gay, the people who think I'm a bunny rabbit. I don't know, but I love you. It's so much fun. It's such a pleasure that I get to do this. I don't take it for granted that you're taking time out of your day, out of your life, those watching now, those watching later. I cherish this digital connection that we have. God willing, we will do this once again tomorrow at some point. I'm sorry it's not a set schedule. With little kids and different hours working, it's difficult to have a proper schedule. If you guys do it so this will become my job, then I'll have a set schedule. But until then, I don't even have enough watch hours to be monetized, let alone have it be a day job. So time will tell. I'm not thinking that will be the case. But I digress. I thank you. This has been awesome. This has been lovely. Be blessed. Be a blessing to others. I will see you fine people tomorrow at some point. Until then, enjoy your day. Enjoy your night. Happy holidays. Goodbye from Jerusalem. Until next time.